Well, today is Super Tuesday, and Katie Chen and I, your politics and news contributing editor, Erin Kotecki-Vest, are in Los Angeles with Congresswoman Maxine. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're
Exciting.
Welcome. Very exciting, and I'm just dying to know what's going on all over the country.
I think everyone is. Everyone that I've talked to seems to be dying to know. I asked some of my BlogHer colleagues when I was researching for this interview what I should ask.
Okay.
And the first thing they said was, why Senator Clinton? Everyone wants to know about your big endorsement.
Yes.
So please tell me why you endorsed the senator.
Well, I endorsed Hillary Clinton because after a very careful review of the issues that were being dealt with by both of the candidates, after watching them debate, after researching the details of their positions, I concluded that she absolutely had the concrete proposals. I determined in my research that we really had two different kinds of campaigns going on with the two candidates who emerged as the candidates that were going to be competing for the nomination in the Democratic primary. One was a campaign of inspiration and hope by Mr. Obama, and the other was the campaign of a policy person who was dealing with the issues in a public policy wonk way. Hillary Clinton has been involved with health care and working on it for so many years. She knows this issue backwards and forwards. That's a very important issue for me. The community that I represent is a community that needs access to health care.
Absolutely.
We have people who die of preventable diseases. Diabetes is running rampant in not only my community, parts of my community, not all of it, but communities all over this nation. People are being amputated because they have not had early care with diabetes. We have women who die of breast cancer because of late detection. We have cardiovascular diseases. We have diseases that certainly, if we had more prevention, if people had more access to health care, if they were insured, they can live a lot longer. And so I'm convinced that there's no one better than Hillary Clinton on this issue. And of course, when you look at the way she has dealt with children and families throughout her career, you cannot help but be supportive of her. I am very concerned about children and families. I worked in the Head Start program for many years before I came to Washington, before I ran for office, period. I care about early childhood education. She has a very detailed proposal about every child having an early childhood education preschool experience starting at least 4 years old. She's been involved in foster care. I was involved with some people who had worked on transitioning 18-year-olds from foster care into mainstream society prior to Hillary Clinton's involvement. Those who had been in the foster care system up till the time of 18 and now had to be released. There was no real plan for how they were going to take control of their lives and how they were going to continue their education and on and on and on. So she got involved with that and helped to create a program for transition. And so I know Hillary Clinton, I know the issues that she's been involved in. I've taken a look at how she is presenting them. I think she has the credibility to implement them. And so she emerged as a more significant experienced candidate for me, and I'm endorsing her because of it.
I know you said at the beginning,
yes,
you took a long, hard look
yes.
at everything. You're like many undecided voters who are walking into the polls today saying, I'm still not sure which one. So I think it may be a comfort to people to know that a congresswoman who has a history with the Clintons, with the Clinton family. I know your husband was appointed envoy to the Bahamas by President Clinton. And
sure.
You still needed to take and look at them
yes.
and look at the issues side by side.
I certainly did, and even more for me, because I was expected to endorse Barack Obama.
Yes.
I heard that from so many places, and still today, people are saying, well, I thought you would endorse him, but they don't tell me why they thought I would endorse him. So I think I, at one point, was thinking about what people expected me to do. Mm-hmm. And I wrestled a bit with those expectations as opposed to what I knew and what I understood. And finally, I had to throw aside the expectations and do what I thought was right.
Not unlike, I heard Oprah Winfrey this weekend say, I'm not voting for Barack because he's black.
Yeah.
And not unlike many other voters
Yes.
out there who are saying, I'm not voting for Hillary, or I am voting for Hillary, but not because she's a woman.
Yeah.
A tremendous amount of discussion about race
Yes.
and gender,
Yes.
which is exciting.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. And gets a little iffy.
Yes.
To relay a story to you, I know my 90-year-old grandfather, who lives in Detroit and is an old Chrysler worker union guy. He went and voted for Hillary Clinton today. And this is from a man who told me when I was young that I might grow up and be a great secretary one day. That was big for me, to know that my grandfather would go to the polls and vote for Hillary.
Interesting.
Now, you yourself are a trailblazer. Tell me a bit about what it was like the first time you ran for office in the political landscape, to what the two Democratic presidential nominees and what they're going through with race and gender. I'm guessing, excuse me, a little different for you.
Well, let me just say that certainly I'm the first to admit that there has been progress since I first ran in 1976 for the California State Assembly. When I ran against a male establishment. I had opposition who had been embraced by my predecessor. As a matter of fact, so much so that my predecessor didn't tell anyone that he was not going to run for office. And at like 4:45, he and his chosen male person went to the Secretary of State's office in Sacramento and filed for my opposition to run. And it was too late for anybody else to file, so he would have been the only candidate on the ballot. And of course, I went to the Secretary of State with the support of a judge, and we challenged that. And the Secretary of State, who happened to be a woman, March Fong Yu, took it upon herself to make the decision that that election would not go forth, that she would open up the filing for another 5 days so that it would give people an opportunity to compete. And so that became law following that election, that should a candidate at the last minute decide not to run and not tell anyone, that it cannot happen that it would be closed out with his choice or her choice, a person without anybody else knowing that the seat was even available. So it was different in those days. I did not have the support of organized labor. I did not have the support of the other men who were basically in the California State Legislature. I really did have the support of women. I had begun to work with NOW and NWPC, women's organizations that were just finding their legs in those days. And I participated quite significantly in the days of, early days of the women's movement with Bella Abzug and Gloria Steinem and others who were fighting for women. And so when I ran, I gathered a lot of support from women, both in this community who was supporting a woman for the first time in a real way, really getting involved in a campaign with all of the organized women's groups. So I do understand the struggle that women have had trying to get elected to office. But of course, there's been a struggle for people of color and minorities. I understand and know that. And certainly, with my decision, you take all of that into consideration. And in the final analysis, you try and select the best candidate that you think will be one who will get the job done.